My name is Dea and I'm a QA engineer, or yeah, you can call it automation tester. Software testing is an intermediate process between the developer developing an application to the application reaching the user. Combination between interaction and development. Part of the job that is most fun. If you don't find a mistake in the application, it doesn't mean that the application is flawless. It can mean that you only need to look further, but in the other side, you also need to know when to stop looking. If you do find a bug or a mistake, you need to be able to communicate it to the person who built the feature or who built the function without making him or her feeling personally attacked. At the end of the day, what we're trying to do is that we as testers, what we're trying to do is to find a way together to improve the product. Oh, that you only click a button and click, done, test it. So yeah, I think that's a very common mistake. I think some of the problems that automation testers face in a daily basis are, for example, a flaky test. So we built a whole test and the application is stable, so there is no changes to the application, and then we built a test to test that application, and for most of the days the test works perfectly, it gives thumbs up, but then the next day suddenly it fails, even though the application doesn't change. So I think that can be quite annoying, because then you will spend a lot of time to find out what is wrong with my test. And the second is probably the maintenance of the test itself. So this is the case where the application does change. So someone changed the code, someone adds something to it. So our test is no longer up to date. So in that case, we also need to update the test in order to reflect the changes in the application. What inspired me was basically, so my background is in psychology, and in 2018 I joined a web development bootcamp, like an intensive program for 2 or 3 months. For me, development can be quite an isolated activity because you're basically coding. So I would like to use my background in this sense. So I would like to also interact with others, with stakeholders, with developers, with product owners. So that's why I choose testing. Because I think in my web development, unfortunately, at that moment, we did not have the stream of automation testing. Had they had that, probably I would immediately go to that stream, because it basically combines a bit of both worlds. So I can have my own time developing, but in the other side, I also can interact with other people. I think for the development side, like for the technical skill, it's not as deep as if I would be a developer. Testing is a combination of both, especially the automation testing. It's a combination of development, so the technical side, because then you have to build the script to test an application. And in the other side, you also need to communicate a lot with people, because, for example, you need to communicate to the developer to ask, okay, how is this application actually working? And then you also need to communicate with the product owner to ask, okay, what is the expected result of this certain feature? Testing is actually a very broad world, because there's also API testing, performance testing, UI testing, also security testing. So in that sense, there are really a lot of opportunity to grow. For example, also an application like an SAP or ERP application for commercial, for retail, web shops, many more. Basically, every applications need tester. I ever worked in a medical software company. So at that moment we built application for doctors to conduct heart surgery, so that they can measure exactly which area in the heart that needs a certain medical device for a certain measurement. There are really a lot of body anatomies that I also need to understand, and I also need to understand how the application works. And I think it was for me an eye-opening experience. Within the Scrum or Agile, you basically have like short iterations, like normally two or 3 weeks, and within those 2 or 3 weeks, things have to be tested. And if there are new features or new functionalities within those weeks, if you only test it manually, you cannot catch up. So you also need to automate it. Then you can make sure that by the time over the sprints, the old or the existing features are not affected by the new features. If you are an automation tester, it doesn't mean that you don't test it manually. Of course, you need to test something manually first, because then you know how the feature works and you know what to do or how to automate the feature. Yeah. First, analytical skill, and second is communication skill. Testers has to be fearless and also respectfully honest. We are not trying to criticize someone personally, but we're trying to work together to improve a product. Because application evolves, so it will only get more complicated. It has always new features, and whenever there's one new feature, a tester, you don't only need to test that feature, but you also need to test whether that feature will affect the existing features or not. And you can do that manually, of course, but then for one particular feature, it would take maybe a week to test. And that is a very exhausting process. But if you automate the process, then what you basically need to do is you only need to check the new feature once, and then afterwards, when it is put together with the existing features, you can simply run your test, and it will run the whole sequence from the beginning until the end. So basically, you fasten the process, it is more accurate, and it is less human error. So you can also detect the issue faster. It means you can deliver the product faster. So in that sense, the automation, is the future. The technical domain can be very challenging. It is a bumpy road, and I can understand that sometimes you will be anxious, like, okay, whether I can do this or not. But believe me, it is a process, and you need to put a little faith on yourself.